After the near destruction of their home planet Earth in their own calendar year 2027, the humans were expected to simply roll over and die. Maybe to repopulate, but that was it. But instead, they rebuilt and they began to spread out. First, by repurposing captured vessels and technology by the invaders. Then, they began to build their own. As they didn't just copy, even though most of these starter ships look very, very similar. They vastly improved on the design. Thus, if one was to look at their rise out of the mud, out of the destruction of the invasion, it's as though you would see that fire bird from their own mythology as fully human ships would eventually begin to be launched and circle around the sector. For a while, they only held true to anything inside the Ord cloud. They refused to leave, and they refused to let others enter at any cost. This was demonstrated as the original invaders of the planet Earth, the Tifa, had come back to take the Soul Sector, the cradle world of Earth, and of course, the humans themselves. Ever since the Tifa had been forced back by the humans at insane cost to humanity itself, their infrastructure, everything they had, the desire to make this species called humans a slave species went completely unchallenged. A new species strong enough to fight the Tifa and win, desperate or brave enough to fight to the last against the strongest known species, never stopping even as their endoskeleton is crushed under them. They keep fighting. Even as the last drops of their iron-rich blood falls, they keep fighting. And they just kept coming. They didn't care if they were hurt or killed. They just kept coming. Even with weapons that were barely effective, they continued to advance to make ground against the Tifa, and this impressed them. They continued to show that they are just as physically strong as the Tifa, as they would take them down. In a fit of anger, they might even become stronger. So much so that they can even fight hand to tentacle against the Tifa and come out on top. This time, though, the Tifa came with 7 times the amount of ships. This had warships, of course, but the bulk of this fleet were massive slave transports, each nearly 20% of the Earth's local satellite. There were also some for mineral extraction, some for gas extraction, and even some for plasma collection for the local star. This is standard procedure, standard practice for anyone, as slave species will submit much easier and much faster if the cradle or homeworld is not there and nowhere to return to. This is the plan. What is not part of the plan, however, is to find several dozen heavily armed human space battleships in the sector, all getting in position, making micro jumps so they can get in close and make a line, all of them targeting the Tifa fleet. Though the humans were outnumbered nearly 30 to 1, it's clear from the amount of turrets on each of these ships that the humans may be one thing, but outgunned is not one of them. Just as the transmission started to tell the humans that they are now property of the Tifa, and how the humans must surrender their planet, their entire sector is to be reclaimed in the name of, they didn't even get that far in the transmission. Humanity's ships had already begun to fire, a coordinated strike that made sure that the warships of the Tifa were fired on first. Massive energy weapons swept across space, igniting any atmosphere they happened to simply touch. The moment these beams of pure hate cut into the pressurized sector of any of the Tifa ships, the pressure simply exploded with enough force to cripple the ship itself. Any cascading failures would turn the ship into nothing more than a withering hulk after it became the world's largest fireworks display. The Tifa tried to intimidate by forming a loose battle line with their non-combatant ships taking position towards the center as though they are dreadnoughts themselves. The human ships, now in position, simply charged ahead. As the fleets began to get within minimal visual range, The Tifa began to realize that the humans were not going to back down regardless of how many ships they throw at them. That is when additional human vessels seemed to join the fight from all different directions. These were much smaller vessels, but all of them carried at least one weapon strong enough to punch through any of the Tifa's ships with a solid projectile. Yet that wasn't the only weapon, as they also had the chemically propelled cylinders. These human cylinders would penetrate the face of the Tifa ships, drive down its throat until they almost reached the stern before exploding, losing its entire combat load inside the enemy. The explosion, usually being powerful enough that the hole the torpedo actually entered, would burst with tremendous force, as though the ship itself was vomiting from so much pressure being pushed inside its guts. The Tifa fleet began to break seeing all this, but the humans just did not stop. Even as cries for mercy came out, they did not stop. Eventually, the Tifa set the ships to crash onto the cradle world. If these ships couldn't leave, they could at least do as much damage as possible. With so much mass, even being struck with those long, hard, solid metal cylinders from the human ships, from the front, from the back, from wherever it's coming from, would not stop them. It was not going to cause enough damage, and they did not have enough chemical propellant to simply blow the ships apart. Even then, the mass would just drift towards the Earth. The Earth would take serious damage at best and would be completely uninhabitable at worst. Even with the last of the Tifa survivors jumping out of the sectors, those that can, they knew that humanity might not recover. Yet they've had similar situations before. They knew in this case, since they have actually scored the winning point, they do not want to celebrate too early. So to be sure, Soul would be hands, claws, and tentacles off for 500 human years. They believe it should take that long for humans to simply die out. If they can recover from their losses at all, there will not be that many of them. They will not be able to get the resources they need to maintain their fleet, and they will be a shell of what they were, but their population will be there to take along with the entire sector. 114 years after this incident, the Galactic Council is in session. Most are bored out of their mind with all the bureaucratic procedures. That is until everyone is told that an unknown species is coming to speak. They are being introduced by a species that was recently subjugated by the Tifa. The Senfra were actually broken by the Tifa and had to stand hunched over as each of the Tifa simply looked at them. They didn't dare look any of the Tifa representatives in the eye because they knew what would happen to their families if they did. The Tifa representatives are completely outraged, flailing all their tentacles up in the air like some sort of inflatable tube person or thing just sitting there, as they were simply outraged at all this. They demanded to know, but they didn't have to wait long. The doors opened, and the species walked in, and suddenly the Tifa were very, very quiet. The dozen humans walked in, and the Grand Poobah of the council was a bit upset that the humans did not pay homage to the other species on the way in with whatever gestures they had to, and they did not bring a tribute, which is considered normal by their standards. After he decided to yell at the humans about this, the humans very calmly looked at him, and one spoke. Look, we're not like the other species here. We're just passing through. But as we do, we will take a piece of them. He says this as extending his arm with all 5 digits out, pointing directly at the Tifa representatives. The Grand Poobah is upset and wants to see an example, and he simply turns sideways a little bit with all 4 eyes, flutters his wings, and says, "Ah, a piece you shall have." Then the Grand Poobah motions for the Tifa to come down. The arrogant Tifa crawl down to the side and begin to encircle the humans. As the Tifa get ready to strike out, the humans dodge and then counter with such speed and strength that everyone is absolutely shocked. The humans Male and female begin to tear the Tifa apart, literally maneuvering the limbs in ways that seem to defy physics. Each strike breaks bone, each hold is like a hydraulic vice. Even some of the humans bite down, ripping large sections of the Tifa apart. The fight itself is over in less than a human minute. With all the Tifa on the ground, some simply flittering just a little bit as the dead nerves continue to pulsate. Then, without a word, the humans just turn to leave. The Grand Poobah yells out, "You came all the way for just this piece?" With that, every single human in that entourage froze in place, turned a little bit, and then the one that spoke again. "No, this is our piece. Humanity is here for the whole goddamn thing." At that point, alerts begin to go off in everyone's data devices. Everyone grabs them, lifts them up, looks, and tries to figure out what's going on, and they try to verify the information. And as they do, horror extends around the room as they check with each other to see if they got the same data. As they do, the humans simply walk out. The Tifa's home star had just gone supernova, but not in a way that would actually end the star itself. It was odd, yet in a way that would still scorch every single world in that system, scorch them so hot that not even bacteria would survive. It's as though this wasn't just attack, this was a statement. As they continued to compare, one of them found a short recording. As they looked up close and they zoomed in as best they could see one of the Tifa starsuckers. But it was strange. It had clear human modifications on it. It jumped in the system, and it was driving directly into the star. Then, as it made contact, there was an explosion that created critical mass, and the star itself didn't explode, but seemed to erupt in all different directions at once. Yet this was not the only news. Tifa colonies are being invaded, and every single Tifa there is being destroyed, killed, slaughtered in front of everyone. But all the rest, all the other species are left alone. These giant bipedal, man-shaped machines suddenly go in there and just tear every Tifa apart. They shoot them, they burn them. It doesn't matter, they're there for destruction. Other Tifa planets are bombarded or completely glassed, and the species' population numbers can be seen as every single one of these representatives looks on their devices, and the numbers are dropping by the billions every minute. The Council can only watch as an entire species is wiped from existence. Once the human ships, invaders, and munitions are done, the humans simply collect their items and peacefully go back to Seoul. Not a single word. Their actions speak for them. To this day, everybody watches the videos of this carnage and they send it out there as a lesson to never underestimate an opponent, never leave a mission unfinished, but above all else, never take a piece from the humans, nor disrupt their peace. If you do, they will take that piece back, along with the rest of everything you are, everything you will be. Because when the humans say they want the whole damn thing, that is what they're going to come for. And nothing is going to stop them. Hello, everybody. This is Syntax. Thank you for joining me today on this short story. Now, before I go, I need to say that today's winner is Angelo Giuliano. And I also need to send out some special thank yous to the supporters of this channel. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. And they are Prozac and Pancakes, Sir, SS Demon, MTF Guard, Brian Kemp, Guardian Sage, Douglas Scarborough, Erica Gem, and Julius Boone. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. Everybody else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntext, punching out.